I am so fucking excited for this episode, guys. Olivia and I have spent hours, days going back and forth. So we're just going to jump straight into it pretty much. Just want to do a little intro. If you're not aware, my Badass Bitches Academy is fucking open, and I'm so fucking excited because I've added an option where you can actually get Baba plus the next round of Queen Alchemy plus extra one-on-one. So I'm just going to leave all the details if you're interested, if you feel that pull, in the description below. If you don't know Baba, it's my feminine business coaching program. There's over 50 fucking lessons in this portal that we've created. And like, I have spent the last month creating it, and it is fucking amazing. Plus, we have Zoom calls every month for 3 months. And then obviously if you go for the one-on-one options, you get all of that as well. It is so fucking jam-packed and so fucking juicy. And I'm literally so effing excited to help you guys literally 2020 bulletproof your business, because like, I feel like we're all needing that right now. 2020 is like, whoa, and we all need to bulletproof our businesses if you haven't already, and it's possible to do so. So I'm going to leave it there. Everything's in the links below. Click on it, have a read, X, Y, and Z. It's a total vibe. Send me any questions that you've got, or send us any emails with questions and we will answer them. Otherwise, buckle up and get ready for probably the juiciest episode ever. Hello and welcome to the Feminine as Fuck podcast. I'm your host, Monica Yates, a period and ICF certified women's life coach, and I help women to harness the power of their period and connect to their feminine flow. In these episodes, we will be talking about all things periods, hormones, confidence, health, food, money, sex, business, feminine flow, your brain, energy, and all the stuff that goes through our heads. You will walk away from each episode with new chicken nuggets and truth bombs, as I don't have a filter and I love talking about all the shit that people are thinking but too afraid to say.
You're like the fairy godmother, like helping them through. It's so crazy. So I don't know if you know Ryan Yakome. He's like a money coach.
Do you know him? I don't think so.
He's like an Asian guy.
Okay.
Anyway, he studies like conspiracy theories, and a lot of times he's like way too much for me. So I go between periods of following and unfollowing. But he studies, I think it's called gematria, and it's like the numbers within like the elite, like the deep state, the elite, the satanic forces that are at play, like they're Satanists, basically. And so he looked it up. George Floyd equals 119, so 119. Well, guess what that is? That's 9/11. Like if you flip it, so 9/11. And he believes 9/11. He studied it so extensively, but 9/11 was an inside job, like, and was to create chaos, right? Division.
Yeah.
Well, then he looked up George Floyd. It took 8 minutes and 46 seconds for him to die. And the first plane hit the World Trade Centers at 8:46 a.m.
Oh, that's so fucking creepy.
Uh-huh. And then the
oh
like
my
the
God,
words
I have
and
shivers down my
phrases.
spine. Oh my God.
Yep. Coronavirus, toilet paper, mind control, Black Lives Matter, and Washington, D.C. are all 56. Like with the like way that this system works. And he was just like, you know, he studies it. He talks about it all the time, but he's like, this world just isn't what we think it is. And basically the whole thing around like the Satanists and the elite is that they want death and destruction and like chaos and like no law and order. So that's what we're watching happen right now, whether it's true or not. It's like all these things are at play to create absolute chaos in our world.
What the
fucking
fuck?
Wild. Yeah, fucking wild.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, on the other hand, I just looked at my Amex bill because the payment didn't go through, and my last payment didn't go through from BPay. I'm 30 grand overdue. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And it stresses me out because I have this thing where I stress out about not paying my Amex bill on time because like I don't want like a credit rating. I don't want to get in trouble. No one's going to get me in trouble, but I don't want like someone to be like, you're stealing money, when it's like, no, I have plenty of money. I can pay it. It's just that like, why was I not getting alerts on my phone being like, you're overdue? So like weird. I paid this shit like last month. Well, I thought I did, right. But like the BPay must have bounced or something. And so I'm just like, fuck, it's so annoying. Anyway, whatever.
That sucks. So now you're like, you have to pay like the double because now you're due for like this month or whatever.
Yeah, which is fine. It just like stressed me out. I'm just like, I was
It
just
all
going
stresses
through
me
a
out.
ton of bills and just paying everybody today. And then I saw that and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And it was just like, I thought I paid last month. And then it's like, oh, now I have to pay double when I've already paid everybody else this today as well. So I'm like, I wonder how much money I spent today. Anyway, YOLO. Okay. Oh my God, I've been like running around like headless chicken today, just like trying to do work. Oh my God. Do you love my cup?
Let me see. Oh, fuck yes. Do you sell those?
No, but I should. I just like don't want to have to
want
post them
one.
myself. So I need somebody else to post them out.
So I had this set up for a while, and I just didn't have enough people ordering them for them to make sense. But you have a much larger following than I do, because I used to have the one that says Crystal's Coffee and Cock, and it was like the 3 of my favorite things.
Oh my God, did you design those?
Yeah, so I hired my graphic designer to create
I always
it.
wanted one of them, but I didn't know where you got it from.
Yeah, I sold them for a while. And so, but my graphic designer made the graphic, and then through a website called Printful, you can get it where you upload the graphic, you put it on the mug, like you pick the mug, whatever. They don't have very good options, but it is what it is. It's a mug.
Yeah.
And I like my mug though. It's a good size and a good quality. And then you get it just plugged into your website, and people buy it right through there, and Printful sends them out for you. They make them and send them, and then you just have to like pay for it, and you just charge a little bit more, so you're making a profit. Yeah, it's super
I want
easy.
that.
Super easy. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, what's it called? I'm gonna fucking do that.
It's called Printful. PRINTFUL.com. Super simple. So yeah, Shelby could totally get it.
I just didn't want to like have like a fucking cupboard full of my feminist fuck cups. Although,
well, and you don't like, I don't want to fucking. Here. Oh, you what?
I have a neon sign here because I got this neon sign.
I love it.
For my New York event, and I literally took it across the world, brought it to London. It's in my cupboard. The neon sign. I'm like, I should put it up somewhere. Now that I'm going to be here for ages, I'm like, I need to like hang that shit somewhere.
You have to. Oh my God, you have
badass. Well, badass, I should say, but ass doesn't sound very good Australian. Like badass, it's like badass.
Badass.
It's not very like. It's not very like but badass is like, like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's true. But I think anything sounds cool in an Australian accent. So
you reckon? Cock.
I really do. I have a client who's Australian, and I just always love listening to her talk, except she talks so fast. And sometimes I'm like, wait, I lost you. Like, come back. Cause she's just like going, and it's like a voice memo, and I have to like play it a couple times. Like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, cause I'll lose her. Cause I'm sure that's how you guys just talk to each other all the time, you know?
Yeah. That's so funny.
Yeah. I don't even know where to start, but yeah.
Well, I've already been recording, so we'll cut bits out that's not relevant. All right, let's jump in. So welcome everybody. I'm Monica.
And I'm Olivia. Welcome. I'm a Cancer, and Monica's a Sag, and apparently she hates cancers.
But I love you. We don't understand how this works. Wait, what's your rising and your moon again?
So I'm a Cancer sun, a Taurus moon, a Virgo rising, and then I have like a bunch of shit in Leo.
Okay, so I think that I connect with you on the Leo. That's all we can put it down to.
I just love to give Monica shit because I'm married to a Sagittarius.
Yeah.
I know. I was about to say it and then I was like, oh fuck. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, it's just funny to me that you always are like, you know, about the whole Cancer Sagittarius thing. But for some reason we get along, instantly clicked, feels like I've known you for fucking ever. And when we started talking about all of this and peeling back the layers and the truth, we were like, holy shit, we need to tell our audiences about this.
And now we spend like 3 hours, and like the other day our conversation was like 3 hours long or something. So basically we have been unpacking this stuff, guys, for now probably a week. I spent like 5 hours on Sunday writing this, like we've been writing up this big document of just like questioning everything. And we go back and forth, just kind of questioning everything in regards to the media. So basically,
absolutely.
Also guys, when any of you post this on your Instagram, can you just be careful with what you type? Or what the actual screen recording, if you have our voices that you share, because apparently Instagram is actually monitoring if you're, can you believe this? Did you see how the video of, I think it was Trump, was taken down because it wasn't in line with Instagram's guidelines, and it was basically it was basically talking against the Liberal opinion or something or other. So and a couple of my followers, when I posted how did you see how I said action blocked when I was on my personal account that no one knows about, and I tried to like my own picture and it said action blocked, and a few of my clients replied being like Instagram and Facebook are actually monitoring your what you're talking about. So basically all we're saying is, can you just please share this episode, because it's very, very important to open people's eyes, but just don't write down how Instagram is bullshit or anything like that in the words, because they'll pick it up and we don't want to get blocked or anything and whatnot.
Well, this happened during COVID, remember, when people would share things about COVID from the non-mainstream opinion, it would block it out on Facebook and Instagram, and it would say false information.
Yeah.
And basically there were people hired on standby to watch what's coming through, and they would block it. And it's crazy how deep this shit runs. And here we'll go with our disclaimers to kind of start off. This is not we are with no political affiliation. I have voted here in the U.S. on both conservative and liberal side, depending on the election.
Understand politics majority of the time, to be honest. So this isn't about politics, basically.
This isn't about politics.
No.
Now, be mindful, it is an election year. So watch the trends. If you go back and study from all different angles what happens each election year, it'll blow your fucking mind. Yeah. But this isn't even about that. We are speaking today basically about, look at how the media is typically one narrative. And if you step out of that narrative, you're either censored, you're blocked, there's assumptions made, you're taken down. There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. So this is not political. Today, we're actually sharing stuff from both sides. And both Monica and I have pulled back when we were really kind of focusing on the mainstream narrative, and we were just getting our information from social media, as millennials do. And we were just reposting and kind of talking about this and forming our opinions from there. And then we were challenged by people that we love, by people that we respect, to just hey, there's more to the story than meets the eye. And that's when I pulled everything down of mine, actually, got off of Instagram completely for 4 or 5 days. And we went into this rabbit hole of, let's look at conservatives, let's look at liberals, let's look at the independents, let's look everywhere and find just the really powerful questions that we're asking ourselves, that other people are asking, again, on both sides, and just starting to see what's the bigger story here? And then what do I feel in my body and my discernment and my energy around what's actually true? And where am I just being fed and being mind controlled? And basically we're just these sheep, you said, bah, walking around just in these mindless, numbed out states, which then were easily controlled, which is what happened with Corona. It happens with a lot of things. And we're not going to go into conspiracy theories and stuff there. You can do that research for yourself. Yeah. There's conspiracy theories on both sides as well. So just really, this is just a thing of open your eyes, holy shit. And we caught ourselves being sheep, and which is not what you do as a leader.
No. And to be honest, my dad and my parents, actually, both of them have said to me multiple times in the last year, stop getting your news from Instagram. Monica, turn on the BBC. And I'd be like, no, I'll just phone you guys. This is embarrassing to kind of admit, because it's so naive of me. I literally thought, no, I get the news from Instagram. Why would I go on a different app? Why would I spend my time Googling different websites? Why would I turn on the news? Whatever I need to know, I get from Instagram. And it wasn't until this big wave with the death of George Floyd that I was then sending my dad all of these videos, and I was like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? And I was freaking out, and I was so angry. And my dad said to me, Monica, you need to take a step back. And it was actually when I then started to see all the Americans being like, make sure you vote, make sure you vote. And I paused and I was like, this is oddly convenient. And that is when I pulled back, and I actually started to look at not even both sides politically, but I actually started to discern for myself. This became common sense to me of this is very interesting that there is an election coming up right when this happens. And that's when I actually started doing research. And I have been we've been researching for the past week of just looking at different stuff. I see something on Instagram, for example, that 75-year-old protester that does a lot of protesting for different causes. Can't remember his name, might be in my notes. That one of the Boston, was it Boston? what's the other city that you guys have called B, starting with B?
Oh God. Baltimore?
And it was the city that like pushed, it was the policeman that pushed that old man.
I don't remember the exact city, but yeah, I mean, I think
it was Buffalo.
Oh, Buffalo, New York. Okay.
Yeah. So Buffalo, so a policeman from Buffalo or whatever pushed this old man and just like nobody ran to help him. Like that was the fucked up thing. It's like, okay, maybe he aggravated you. Maybe you wanted to push him. But the fact that you just like no one ran up to him, you're kind of like, well, like, oh, whatever. I was like appalled by it, right? Anyway, so initially I was like raging with anger. Then took a step back, and then from a liberal side, someone fucking posted this shit about how it was all made up, and I was like, hold on. And Dad was like,
conservative side.
Oh yeah, sorry,
conservative side was that.
Thank you. I get confused. So the conservative side, which by the way this is all opposite in Australia apparently. Like fuck knows. Again, that's why we're not saying one side over the other. We're just like sharing information. And Dad was like, Monica, everything on Instagram can be photoshopped. Literally everything. You actually cannot take anything from Instagram as true. And like, to be honest, the more that I've been researching all of this, I'm like, can we take anything as the actual 1000% truth? I don't think so.
I asked Lauren last night. I said, it'll be really interesting to see if we'll ever know in this lifetime the objective truth, because there's so many fucking layers. It's so multifaceted, no matter what lens you look at it through. I really don't think we'll know, because this is where I believe we are all waking up, and we'll talk about the spiritual warfare side of this. And you can study more about that, but it's like, we're all waking up, and in your body, if you discern what feels true for you, I do believe that that's something your soul already knows that is truth to you. It's almost like people who are really passionate about anything. And it feels like people who are, for example, in like religion, I don't walk around thinking they're all fucking brainwashed. Like that actually feels really true in their body in that season. That's what their body has the capacity to recognize. And I think it's beautiful. For me, that felt true for a while. And then I woke up to being like, and again, not that I was more woke and not that I'm like more elevated or more conscious or more spiritual. It's not a fucking hierarchy. But when I woke up to, oh my God, there's more to the story, and I started studying all these different angles, I found a different truth. And that feels so real in my body. As coaches, both Monica and I, we're not even here to tell you what the truth is. That's why we're not talking politics. We're not telling you who to fucking vote for. You have to discern that for yourself, and really
don't know the
deeper
truth.
And deeper as you get closer to your body and your own intuition, and you get so inside of yourself and in your own energy, you'll be able to discern what the truth is for you. But as long as we are on this planet with the frequencies that we're at, there will be polarity. That's just how our universe works. So there's going to be people who are this side and people who are this side, people who refuse to hear anything else, people who won't open their minds. That's okay. Like, we're not shaming those people, because in fact, shame is like one of the lowest frequencies that there is. And we'll talk about that. And so this isn't about shaming you. This is just about saying, hey, have you ever thought about it this way? Because if people hadn't done that for Monica and I, we would have just kept like blindly going this way as sheep, and we wouldn't wake up. So it's like there's a movement that happens on Instagram, and it's up to you to say, whoa, pause. What's going on inside of me here? Or am I just seeing celebrities or leaders that I respect or people I've invested in saying it? Therefore, it must be true. And we're like, no, it might not be. Depends on what you feel in your body.
Exactly. Like, you have your own truth. And so like, to be really honest, and I'm sure Olivia, you're the same. It's like, we've done all of this, but I still don't know the actual fucking truth. So read this old man really quick. So one Instagram thing was like, oh, he made it up. Like it was all faked and all ployed. But then I was like, hold on a second. Dad was like, Monica, Photoshop. So then I was doing some Googling, and apparently he's in hospital. Now, they could just be saying he's in hospital and he maybe isn't in hospital. We don't know. But the fact
was he paid? Was he not? I don't know.
Exactly. The fact of the matter is we don't know. And what we're feeling is that a lot of people are thinking that they have to take Instagram as the truth when deep down there's something in them that's like, hang on, and they're not letting themselves listen to that. So we kind of decided, we just want to say this is a very scary episode for us to do. We would like to ask that if you have mean messages to send, we're not going to accept them. Like they're actually not going to be received. So like there's really no point in you wasting energy on that. It says more about you than it does about us. If you don't have an open mind, that's fine, but don't listen to this episode. Like we're only here to inform and to bring some, questions to you guys with an open mind. And
again, we don't have to agree. We can all still sit at the same table. We're not trying to convince you of anything.
Exactly.
If you can't be challenged, look at your beliefs, because they're not actually that anchored and that rooted in truth. Because someone can come at me and I'm happy to have like a respectful, challenging conversation. Yeah. I think like even if you're vegan, have a fucking conversation with a paleo person and vice versa. It's important. If you're an evangelical Christian, have a conversation with a Jew. Like just open your fucking mind beyond the one truth that you've been conditioned or indoctrinated into believing. That's all that this is, just zoom out.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we just want you guys to have an open mind throughout this. This is not like a place for judgment. And we want to let you know that like it takes a lot of energy to be a leader. We've actually already recorded this episode once and we decided to scrap it and re-record. So this has taken hours of our time. So we would appreciate days, hours, like a week now of us going back and forth. And it takes a lot of energy for us to do this because it's scary. Like, let's be real. I mean, a lot of people are getting severely bullied right now for speaking about anything besides the mainstream. And we're even seeing celebrities opening up and saying, I'm not agreeing with what's happening, or I want to post something a little bit different, or I want to question things, and they're not allowed to because they're worried about how the media will twist it and then how it'll ruin their
PR, yeah.
And that's scary to us. That's scary. And I've experienced it in the past week, of people twisting words that don't have that intention. And it's not because there was actually anything for them to really grab out of it, but it's this shame. It's them trying to find anything that will validate their narrative. And guys, if you've got a narrative and you're wanting this to validate your narrative, just pause, come back to this when you actually have an open mind. And we're saying that really, really seriously. This is going to be an episode that will make you think, and it's not going to probably make you feel light and airy fairy and empowered afterwards. You're probably going to go fuck at the end. So if you're having a shit day, don't listen to this episode. I wouldn't recommend. Listen to this episode when you're actually ready to have discussions with people. Like Olivia and I are a part of a WhatsApp group with 40 other people, and it's amazing. We wake up with I woke up with 325 messages this morning, and basically it's insane. Basically we pop in different articles, different things, different questions, and everybody will then rebut what you're saying. And it's actually been amazing because then it makes you think even harder about what you're saying. I've been really enjoying it. And let's be real, there's times where I'm like, fuck, this is exhausting, but it's made me question every single thing from different angles and come to a really concrete belief of what I know to be true for what needs to happen. And everyone's got a different idea. But again, it's just having those difficult conversations with people can be so fucking fascinating.
It really is fascinating. And here's the thing, you have to know your own energy, because there are days or moments of the day where Monica and I are like, dude, I got to tap out. I can't talk about this anymore. I've got to go turn my brain off for a while, or go take a bath, or go dance, or go do something. And it's really important, especially right now, no matter what side you're on or what your beliefs are, that you're taking care of yourself, because there's a lot of energy moving as a collective. And what we don't want to happen is there are days where, I'm not going to lie, when I started pulling back the curtain and lifting the veil and seeing what was underneath all of this and studying it, there are days where I'm I feel fucking hopeless. What's even the point? I feel helpless. I'm one person. What actual change can I create? And, there'll be mornings where I wake up and I'm like, God, I'm just so tired. And it's when will the truth come out? It just feels like there's this defeat feeling, or this disappointed of what's the fuck is the point? And what I've had to do is just on those days, honor that human feeling, but then tap into what care do I need right now? What does my soul need right now to continue to show up and play my part in this? And all of our roles will be different here. You might not go record a podcast on this, and that's okay. Silence, which Jake Woodard was talking about on his podcast today, is actually a beautiful tool in this spiritual warfare game and this movement and revolution that we're in, because it means that you're tuning tapping into your energy, and you can do a lot in meditation that you can't do when you're just spewing shit all over the internet. So honor where you feel called to show up, how you feel called to show up. It really is going to be very individual based on your capacity. And if you burn out, and if you're just laying in bed feeling hopeless and depressed, like, you're not going to be able to do much of anything for the frequency of the planet and for this movement. So honor where you're at. It's going to be so different. And the other thing I wanted to say too is we made like little notes here to try to get everything. Disclaimer, this is not about the Black Lives Matter movement specifically. We are going to talk about a lot of different pieces, and we can all agree as human beings, no matter where you're from or what, where you're at. The system is fucked in different ways. Like the education system, the healthcare system in America, the poverty cycle, the violence, like there's a lot of aspects to this. We're not going to focus in on one movement. We're not going to focus on race. We're not going to focus on any specific piece. There's a lot of layers here. Yeah. And we're more so just looking at like the general kind of overview of everything for this one podcast. And if you love this, we'll keep recording them as we continue to learn more. But really just being with yourself in this podcast, pausing when you need to, taking care of yourself, coming back another day when you have the capacity for it, and just taking all of this and then going and like to continuing the research far after we're done having this conversation, because there really is so much here, and it's progressing every single day. There's new articles that come out. There's new stories coming out. There's new facts and evidence. And that's what's really important to look at, is not only what feels true in your body, but where are the facts and what are the patterns and different things that we can look at here, which is why I said, like, look what happened in 2016 when we had an election year. Like, notice the things, and it's not about an opinion. It's just about fact. It's like on fucking paper, in a graph. Like, there's no like making that up. So be with it, and just know we're not going to focus on race today. We're not going to focus on the Black Lives Matter movement. There are many, many, many layers here. And Monica and I both agree. Black lives do matter. We both agree, like, the police needs to be reformed. We both, we've got so many beliefs here. So assume whatever the fuck you want. That's on you. Yeah. This is just to start asking bigger, more curious questions and to sit with them.
Yeah. And for both of us, like, this question of us, like, being like, fuck, we're meant to be leaders and we've actually been sheep. And like, this is our apology to be like, fuck, we've actually been sheep. It was triggered by the Black Lives movement, but it does not it does not mean that we are not on board with it. We are bringing this to you because it's been triggered for us, and it's been brought to our awareness that, like, fuck, we've been sheeps and we haven't been questioning what we've been seeing in the media. We've been taking it as the truth. Even through Corona, I took everything the media says as the fucking truth. Anyone that was saying to me any conspiracy theories, I was like, nope, that's fucking bullshit. And I mean, most of you guys would have known, like, when Corona first started, I literally said on Instagram, I'm not available for it. I'm not going to get it. Then a month later, when I was in London, I got Corona plus strep throat at the same time. Then after Corona ended, I was like, fuck, not after Corona, after I finished getting Corona, I was like, fuck this shit. They need to let us out of our homes. So I went through all the different phases. So I'm by no means perfect. Olivia's by no means perfect, but we just really felt that it was our duty as leaders to do this scary episode, to put ourselves out there. And we would really appreciate your positive feedback and for you to share this with friends, just to help open people's fucking eyeballs, basically, and to wake up those that are asleep.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Absolutely. Have people start thinking for themselves. Here we go.
Exactly.
So where to start? Now that we're like a half hour in.
I know. Okay, other disclaimer is that, so Instagram is a trending platform. Basically, with Instagram, guys, the most popular and politically correct opinion goes viral. But I want you guys to be thinking of your own truth, you guys to be coming to your own answers. Because when you start to see a movement on Instagram, whether it's Black Lives Matter, whether it's like Me Too, whether it's any like whether it's fucking anything, it doesn't matter. Have you actually looked at the whole picture? Have you stepped back and gone, interesting, let me discern for myself? Or did you just believe it because you started seeing it being posted? Because I will admit, in the past, I believed because I started seeing it being posted and I took it as the fucking gospel. And it's only
and
now.
I did that with this movement. I started reposting and reposting and reposting, and I don't disagree with everything I posted. There was a lot of good shit in there that I still agree with, but it sure as hell wasn't the whole story. So I deleted it all because I needed to reground into my truth before I just started to share, because I was being guilted into, if I'm a leader, I have to post, where now I'm like, that's not actually true. Being a leader means being able to discern when to post and when not to post.
And also it's your platform, so you can fucking post dick pics all day if you want to. Something else.
I will never do that. No one wants to see a dick, okay?
Yeah.
Like dicks are the like not cute. You know, like I have like a butt on my wall. I've got like people having sex on my wall. I've got like, you know, I would put fucking boobs on there. I would put a fucking pussy, but a dick, I don't need a picture of it. I got it in my brain. I've seen it. It's not cute. Like we can all agree. I don't need any dick pics anywhere that are framed. Okay. Thank you.
We can also, majority of us agree based on every conversation I've had with girlfriends, is that we all like men with fucking pubes. I don't like it when men shave. It's just like this random elephant trunk coming out of the just like,
and then when it grows back and it's scratchy and it's like, no, it is not a vibe. Like,
I like that manly, like tribal, like give it to me kind of vibe. Like it's,
and then you get a pube in your mouth and you're like, okay. It's like in your throat. You're like, it's worth it. It's worth it. Okay.
Okay, so what I was going to say before we went on the dick ramble, but we're here for that as well, is that...
A dick ramble? That needs to be a segment on the podcast. Dick Rambles with Monica and Olivia. Welcome. We could create our own podcast called that.
You've planted the seed now. You've planted the seed. So
don't steal that, bitches. I will come for you.
Let's trademark that shit right back in now. Okay.
Right.
So what I did want to say as well... And I think, Olivia, you can agree for this based on our conversations, that this movement has opened my eyes. This movement has opened my eyes to having more diversity, to opening my eyes to like the real, and I've been very aware that America, especially compared to Australia and the UK, where I now am, has a shitty system, and there is a lot of injustice, and that, yes, things generally come easier to us because we are white, and we are not denying any of that. We are hearing you. We are seeing all of you, no matter what color, race, background you are. We want to also say that this is, we see, feel, understand, and hear all of your experiences, and this is not to invalidate any of them. This is not to invalidate any of them. This is separate fucking matter. This is about the media. It's separate, totally separate. And we want to make that really fucking clear to you guys. And we ask that you please do not twist our words, because the words here are not meant to be twisted. They are being said exactly how they need to be received.
Mm-hmm. There are absolutely racist people. Mm-hmm. We are not denying that. There absolutely is a thing called privilege. We are not denying that.
Yeah.
And there absolutely is shit that needs to be fixed, you know, like there really absolutely is. And that reform needs to happen. So we're not saying like, oh, fuck all of this. It's just, wow, there's more here. And I told my friend Lauren this all night, and this is just my opinion that I stand behind. Monica has her own. And, I said, as long as we're focused on race as like our main piece, there's going to be division, because the truth at the end of the day is we are all different. We are like that. It's not, I don't see color. You are black. I am white. Like you are Asian. Like we all have our own backgrounds and our histories and our cultures and our skin color, and diversity is part of our world. However, there is aspects of inequality. There are poverty cycles that, especially in the Black community, it's harder to get out of. And, you know, our country does have a lot of history around slavery and these different pieces. So we're not denying that, any of that. But there's a lot of what's happening right now is creating a lot of division, and you're either on this side or you're on this side. And we're losing our rights as humans to be both and to, you know, be able to honor and also know our truth at the same time. So We honor, we validate your experiences. I've been having beautiful conversations with Black friends of mine. I've been studying different Black experiences all over the board, and I'm in awe. And I'll never understand what it's like to have, dark skin ever. And so I hear you, I see you, I validate your reality, your experience, and what feels so true for you. That's not what this podcast is going to be about. So although we're not going to touch on that, that disclaimer there is like, we love you and we see you and we'll continue listening and we'll continue learning from you. That's not going to change. We are more so looking at, like you're saying, kind of the overarching theme of this whole podcast, 40 minutes in, is about the media, and just zooming out and looking at how there's so much more to the story than just one thing. Just as your experience as a Black person might be different than another Black person's experience, mine as a white person might be different than someone else. We all have our own stories. And so can we all just listen more to each other's experiences, and rather than trying to make someone wrong or shame someone, instead really validating them and seeing them and noticing how nourishing and how healing just being seen and validated by another human being, how actually healing that can be.
Yeah, and I think the major trend that we're also seeing just right now with everybody, this is not even Black Lives Matter, this is everything and everybody, is how we are jumping to assumptions. Women jump to assumptions that all men are bad. People jump to assumptions that if you have blonde hair, you're dumb. People jump to assumptions, and that is causing issues. Like, we are prejudging people based on how they generally look, is what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And this is an invitation for you to just like acknowledge where you're maybe prejudging people, because the thing is, you actually don't fucking know them. Like, you really, or like you're prejudging influencers or people that use on Instagram, but you don't actually know them. So there is going to be, there is so much alternative information out there. And so we are wanting to share that with you. We are going to share with you guys some information that we've seen and ask questions. And we literally are asking questions. Like, if someone's got the answer, fucking tell us. Like, we're going to ask questions to get you guys thinking, and yeah, let's go.
Perfect. So we talked a little bit about kind of the poverty cycle. We touched on Instagram being trending.
Yeah, and if you feel like, and also actually, so with Instagram's about like a trending thing, right? And you feel, and like Olivia and I fucking felt this, you feel like a bad person if you are questioning it. And like, I don't know about you, Olivia, but I think that's a fucking problem. To feel like I'm a bad person for questioning something that's happening on Instagram, it's almost like I feel like Instagram has become our version of the Bible. Literally. Like, if you question Instagram these days, or you question Facebook, you're a bad person. And this is wrong. This is where people, again, are adding shame and guilt and judgment to anybody that thinks slightly differently, which personally I think is fucking wrong. I think that this again comes back to this piece of, you can have different opinions to people and you can respect them. It's like what I always say, your husband doesn't need to be pulling tarot cards with you for him to respect you to pull your tarot cards. It's about not judging people, and it's about getting out of your fucking ego and coming into your soul. And everyone's operating, like a lot of people are operating just so from their head of just like, it's my way or the highway. And it's like, actually, it's not your way or the highway. Everybody has their own reality, and everybody's reality is valid. Everybody's reality is correct to them.
Yeah. There's a lot of projection happening right now. There's a lot of policing happening right now. No pun intended. Like, obviously we're talking about police reform in the world right now, but there's like this policing thing happening on Instagram and it's this idea where there's a lot of, especially like I'm watching, and this is just my experience of what I'm witnessing, a lot of white women policing other white women from a space of like kind of projecting onto them their anger, their frustration, their own white guilt, or their own, white fragility, or whatever it might be. And just assuming and like literally like throwing it up on them, and then making that like that person's truth, when really that's not what that person said. You're twisting it again, like you said earlier, to fit your narrative. We need to be pausing, coming back into our own energy. Like literally imagine yourself unhooking from that person that triggered you or that comment that triggered you back in your own body and respond from a grounded, sovereign, self-contained space. And it would be wild, the difference that happens on social media. But what's happening with this shame and this guilt, like that thing you sent me of like, if you feel white guilt, then you're guilty. Like that's just the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard.
Like I have not committed a crime. Like I personally do not believe that the color of my skin makes me a guilty person.
Maybe, or like white toxicity.
Yeah. If I had slaves in my house, then that would make me a guilty person. But I don't carry guilt about myself because I operate from a place of love and from like compassion and from human fucking decency all the time. All the time. I always come back to, is this a decent human thing to do? That's like my favorite fucking words.
Right. Absolutely. And so what's happening is these lower frequencies like the shame and the guilt are getting projected. And it's like, oh, and then as I've talked to a lot of clients that have felt this way, I know you and I felt this way in the beginning of like, oh my God, now something is wrong because I'm white, you know? And then it's like, oh, and now I need to go do all of this work to fix myself because I'm broken and I'm part of the problem. And I'm watching it happen everywhere where everyone's apologizing for something that they never did. And basically apologizing for taking up space and feeling like they need to mute themselves and feeling like they don't matter. And all of these things are happening. And sure, again, there are people out there that's the real truth. Like they need to be doing this work. And I think it's important for all of us to be aware all of the time of like, where am I coming from? Where are my unconscious biases? What more could I be educated here? Could I be corrected? I don't know. I'm learning all the time about everything, race and otherwise. So there are pieces, but instead what we're seeing is it's you're bad and you're guilty and you're wrong and you're shameful. And it's because you're white and you can't change that. Like, I can't fix that. And I believe in my belief system, no one is a fucking problem. You are divinity in form. You're God in a body. Like he didn't fuck up by putting you in this body and giving you this experience. So what are you going to do with that? Are you going to believe that? Or are you going to start to think that someone must be a problem here? And we're creating this division of you're either on this side or you're on this side versus just being able to zoom out and not take Instagram as the Bible and just start to see the bigger picture. So again, I feel like I'm repeating myself now, but yeah.
Yeah. So like guys, point being is like, I'm going to plug myself. If you go on my IGTV, I did a meditation, a feminine healing meditation. And at the beginning, I explained to you how to call back your energy. And if you're not doing that, start doing that, because I'm noticing with all of my clients, like all of them, they're leaking their energy everywhere and I have to keep pulling it back and pulling it back. They're leaking it everywhere and like they're letting their energy be sucked away by these media streams. Why do you think all of you guys are so fucking exhausted right now? It's like, yes, there's a lot of heaviness going on, but you're allowing yourself to be available to be sucked away by the heaviness. And like I've been really coming back to my own energy. And I've had a lot of energy this week and a lot of focus this week because I've actually culled like 1,000 Instagram people that I follow and I've culled a pile of stuff. And now my Instagram is high vibrational content in there that makes me feel inspired, which is needed. And it's incredible what that does for your energy. So be really careful because the stuff that you're consuming as well, whether it's the truth or not the truth, it's heavy. So go into the things, go into your research with like your energy and make sure that you're plugged into your energy. You're not plugged into somebody else's energy. Do not start doing this at 9 p.m. at night when you are leaky and exhausted. Do this when you are feeling like I'm fucking ready. So
we talked about the old man.
Oh yeah. So the old man, so that's just an example, but
so we talked about him. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about him. And then, oh yeah. So that's one thing. And then, okay. So another example.
You had an example of Australia. Yeah.
Yeah. So another example with the media doing like literally whatever it takes to get its story out there. So a year or so ago in Australia, I would say about a year, I landed on the front cover of The Australian, which is, think about it like kind of like the New York Times, like a big Australian national newspaper. I was on the front cover with my dad. Now, yes, like my Sagittarius and Gemini was like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm not going to deny that by any means. But the reason why it happened was because a PR person was obviously stalking my Instagram, and they followed me because they knew that I was my dad's daughter, obviously. And my dad's in the public eye, as is my uncle. And as soon as, so I mentioned basically that my dad was, I think I mentioned like my dad's running for a seat, and I wasn't meant to. And I didn't know that I wasn't allowed to mention it. So I said it on my way to Pilates, and it got out straight away. Now, then what happened is and I'm not going to go fully into it because I don't even remember the full entire details, and I don't want to give the wrong details, but my dad can explain on his episode when he comes on to talk more about like how to actually make change, because he's going to do an episode on that, which is going to be amazing. And actually, I'm going to put a link to a Google form. If you guys have any questions for my dad about like how do you make actual change in the system, please leave them there, because dad's going to do a very informative podcast where he's going to dumb everything down because I am his daughter. And if he can explain it to me, he can explain it to you. So point being is I ended up on the front cover of the Australian, and not only was I underage with a glass of champagne in my hand and a gun around my leg with a slit up to my fucking pussy, there was also no permission. They got the image from Facebook, and yes, Facebook owns the image, blah, blah, blah. But the point being is that I was actually underage. And what if I had no confidence, it was really insecure, and what if that actually broke me, seeing me on the front cover of the Australian? What if that was like traumatizing for me? Now, it wasn't, because I'm a strong character and like what, I'm my dad's daughter, but what if it was really fucking scary to me? And basically all the media did was they grabbed what they wanted, and the Australian, by the way, is pretty sure it's a Murdoch press, which is liberal, and dad was creating an independent party because the liberals in Australia are like, normally people, like dad usually would vote liberal, but the liberals in Australia were doing jack shit for climate change, but they were doing a great job marketing that they were doing shit for climate change, but actually they weren't. And there's a video of my dad, which is like, you watch it and you're like, Monica is his daughter, where basically Josh Frydenberg brought up a lump of coal as a quote unquote joke to a press meeting, and my dad stood up and ripped into him, and it's like on YouTube, and I watch it and I'm like, go fucking dad, because dad's like me. He doesn't allow people to get away with the bullshit. Anyway, and I did a great job twisting the whole fucking story and put it in the Australian newspaper to fit the narrative that like dad was wrong and the liberals were right? And the whole time that he was he was doing his political stuff and whatnot, and there's a podcast episode on it, dad reported to the ACCC that they were committing illegal activity. You know what the ACCC said? We can't do anything about it. He phoned the fucking police. No, we can't do anything about it. Literally, do you know what happened? Literally, so they were making shit up about my dad. Like literally, there was no part of the comments that they were saying that had any truth, that had been even like twisted. Like literally, they were making shit up, pulling stuff out of thin air. And my dad phoned, don't know, but reported it to somebody, and they literally said they're allowed to. So you're not allowed to do this generally, but for elections, you're allowed to make things up. So the ACCC and whatnot is like basically one of the governing bodies that stops misleading and deceptive conduct, right? For example, like you would say something that was totally misleading or totally deceptive, that's against the law, and this is the governing body for it. So they were saying stuff that was actually completely factually incorrect about my dad and like had no validity in the statement. And they literally told dad that they're allowed to because it's the election. So you are allowed to make shit up about people for election time, but not for other things, but for the election you're allowed to. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me that screams fucking issue. Like that screams, what the fuck are we being told? That is absolute bullshit. Like literally bullshit.
And the piece about it is it's either like completely false information, or what I notice a lot when I started to actually look at articles or take an article that I saw and then do further research to look at the fact behind it. Yeah. What's happening here a lot in the US as well with the media is things will get taken out of context. So for example, Trump needs to get his phone taken away and not be a tweet person, right? He should not be on Twitter. Like, let's all be honest. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
However, a lot of his tweets are taken out of context. So the one about like the thugs, right, that came out with the protesters and he called the protesters thugs was taken out of context. When you look at the underneath it, he was talking about the rioters and the looters who actually were a lot of white people. It wasn't actually black people that started a lot of that. It was actually white people. And you could look at too, like the protests, you could zoom out and you could look at why were there bricks that were just there? Why were there 2x4s when there's no construction going on? Like these are the questions that we're asking. But you look at even one of my girlfriends told me about this video that Trump had done, and he had talked about George Floyd and how he's looking down and XYZ. And she said it. And I was like, did you see the actual like whole speech that he gave? And she was like, well, no, I just saw the one that so-and-so posted. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was literally clipped this, wove it together. Here's the story. And then everyone's seeing that headline. When you look at it and you actually look at the speech, you're like, oh, interesting. Like this isn't actually what he said. It wanted to fit their narrative. They wanted to have backing, and that's allowed, unfortunately. Same thing with the rubber bullets and the tear gas. You watch the press secretary conference, and she's literally telling you that was not used. And here's what happened. The police came on the loudspeaker. They said, protesters at the White House, you need to back up because we need to increase the perimeter. Yeah. Protesters didn't listen. They repeated it 3 times on a loudspeaker. Police, water bottles, frozen water bottles are getting thrown at police officers. Bricks are getting thrown at police officers. They were getting told back up. And she said, and the press secretary said, the police have every right to defend themselves. Now, do I also believe there are corrupt police officers out there? Yes, there are plenty of stories that also back up that narrative. That's not what I'm saying of like, I'm choosing a side. What I'm saying is, who here listening to this podcast has ever listened to a press conference? Who here has actually watched an entire speech given by a leader, whether it's president or a governor or a mayor or whoever, and actually watched it versus seeing the highlight reel or the clips that the media wants us to believe? These are the fact checking that we need to zoom out and ask and be like, is this actually what happened? Or and for example, the rubber bullets and tear gas thing. And then when they did end up using force to push everyone back, the reporters in this press conference were asking, well, who gave the order? And the media is saying Trump gave the order. Actually, Trump didn't give that order. Like if you look at the facts. So I'm not here to tell you what's right. I'm not here to tell you what's wrong. I think that, again, I have values on both sides. I have my own belief systems and my own opinions that align with my values. I believe that there can actually be right and wrong on both sides, 1,000%. This is instead just using critical thinking and judgment of pause, pull back, even if it's someone you're voting for. You don't even have to fucking believe the story. You can still zoom out and look at the facts and see, what's the actual truth here based on fact versus people's opinions and what the narrative is trying to get me to believe.
Totally. And actually, your press conference thing. So I hate to admit this, but the first time I actually watched a press conference was beginning of this year in January, because of all the bushfires happening in Australia, right? And this is the problem. A lot of people only get involved when really bad shit's happening. And then they're like, okay, now I'll start watching. Yeah. The only reason why I was watching it was because my dad was watching it. And I support my dad because I know that he has the biggest heart, and the only reason why he decided to take the chair. And literally, I actually remember saying to him, like, Dad, like, I support you in this. Like, I know that it's like within his soul to do this. Let me tell you guys, I would not wish it on my worst fucking enemy to be a politician. The stress, the pressure, the shit that they go through, the way people twist their words, I could not even imagine that. But my dad did that and continues to do so, because literally he's like, I am the only person that will do it. Nobody else is taking one for the team. Nobody else is doing what is right. I mean, for example, Josh Frydenberg in Australia, when he had his campaign and he had like millions of dollars behind him, guess where the millions came from? Taxpayers' fucking money. Guess who funded Dad's campaign? Dad did. It was his own money, right? Get this. This is how fucking shit people are. So Josh Frydenberg's got these ginormous like fucking poster boards everywhere. And Dad's like, well, I can't afford to do fucking that. So you know what dad does? And I'm like, this is how creative my dad is. I just fucking love him. He goes and buys a pile of like secondhand trailers, and he literally gets those like zip ties and zip ties a pile of his like face, like the political board thingies that are like cheaper to print, all around the trailers, and leaves them. He parks them all around like the Melbourne suburbs that he was like doing the seat for. And literally Josh Frydenberg's people were like going to fine him if he didn't remove them. You're allowed to park your trailer or park your car wherever you want. But because dad's face was on it, apparently now you're not allowed to park your car where you want.
Sounds so cool when you say that. Park your car.
Park your car.
Park your car.
Point being, so I watched my first press conference at the beginning of this year. That's kind of embarrassing to admit. And when I watched it, my blood was boiling with how fucking shit the words were, and the way that, oh fuck, what's the Australian Prime Minister? I need to Google his name right now, or it's going to be like terrible for me to not know it. Hold on. Australian, it's like on the tip of my tongue. Prime Minister, Scott fucking Morrison. It is that when you watch his press conferences, like the way that he smirks and doesn't give a flying fuck about what he says, like how can it not make your blood boil? The thing is, most people don't watch it, or most people think, me included, that if you repost shit, you're making a change. The only reason why I know that reposting makes jack shit of a fucking change is because I'm educated by my dad. That is the only reason. I have only become aware of politics stuff right now, and all this behind the scenes, and how much criminal activity goes on behind the scenes, to the point where my dad took them to court, literally took them to fucking court over criminal activity, the Liberal Party. I only am aware of this because of my dad. And it's alarming to me because most people, hence dad's coming on, most people are oblivious to this shit. And that's okay, but hence we're doing this podcast. Anyway, so if you watch a full press conference, you can't not have your blood boiling over people like this that just don't give two flying fucks, but say the right things. And then you get the condensed version on Instagram or whatever that supports their side of the fucking argument. Now, the problem is what I'm seeing is that people think reposting is going to make a change. Guys, dad's going to explain it. Reposting does fucking nothing besides create awareness. It creates awareness, but that is it. Do you know what actually makes change? Fucking learning and voting, and not just voting who you see on Instagram and who looks pretty and based on their marketing. No, you need to research them. Who are they funded by? Where did they get the money from for their political campaign? That is what you need to be looking at. What has been their past history? Like, not just what are they saying now, but in the past, have they rocked up to press conferences with lumps of coal and they've been like against like, oh, climate change is bullshit. Oh, and now all of a sudden climate change is real? Like, do you actually believe that shit?
Yep. And someone like thinking of, someone who's been in office for many years before, what have they actually done? Or are they using and saying all of these things to market themselves to get you to vote for them? And they've actually never done shit in their however many years in office before in different parties and in Congress. Looking at even, are they actually backing what their goals are and like the things that they're going to do? Or are they just and are they instead just continuing to trash the other side? Like, what are the fucking facts? Looking at even like a current president, and even like looking at the history of like, hey, what have they done since they've been in office? I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know shit that the current president here in America had done his entire, 3-4 years that he's been in office. I had no idea until I started to look, and I was like, holy fuck. And I started to educate myself. So again, it's not about who your parents are voting for, who the church is voting for, who your favorite mentor is voting for. What is the actual fact? And are you educating yourself and having these powerful questions and voting then based on that discernment in your own body, in your own truth, and standing behind it, not getting bullied into, because there's a lot of this going on right now. Exactly. If you vote for so-and-so, then fuck you. You're not credible. You're a racist. You're a horrible human being. There's a lot of, again, assumptions going on versus this idea that actually, like, I can vote for whoever the fuck I want. And so really like that whole pausing piece. And I also wanted to, I don't know if I want to bring this up, but we can cut this out if you don't want this in here. But I wanted to say that thing that I sent you because we were talking about questioning, right? Just questions that we're asking. And Nicole Arbor had posted, So you want me to take a class on how to get rid of my toxic whiteness. So wait, being white is toxic now? Like she goes, you know how we know that's messed up? Say the same thing with another color in there, exactly as it is. So this thing that she's talking about is to join this certain person for an informative and transformative workshop on dismantling racism and white supremacy. Here, word for word, whiteness is toxic and is harming every one of us.
That makes me feel sick to my stomach, because if you
put blackness in there, yeah,
right, swap it. Like this is what's interesting. So I mean, again, guys, discernment, right? Discernment. But even just actually, I want to quickly just jump on the president thing. So, for example, and this is embarrassing to admit, but I'm going to admit it because I'm a fucking leader here and I need to. So before legit the past 7 days, I thought Trump was a fake tanned, narcissistic, like ass fucking hole that is dirty and hairy. That's what I thought of him. And if I was living in America,
which some of those things are absolutely true.
Yes, so correct. And now this again, he maybe, we don't know him though. We don't know him. So he maybe actually is a narcissistic asshole. But are you voting for a prime minister that just is like friendly and like, oh, lovey-dovey? Or are you voting for someone that makes a
gets shit done?
Yeah, he's not having dinner with you. He's not coming over. You're not marrying him. Now, the thing is, you know, if I was to not do any fucking research, and we were talking about this on the phone just before, I would have voted, if I was an American citizen, I would have voted for Obama or I don't know who's fucking, whichever was like available, or Hillary Clinton. Why? Hillary's a woman. And so I'm like, oh yeah, go women, right? Obama, he's like a nice family man. He always seemed very grounded. Like everybody loves Obama. And Trump, he's an asshole. But then when you look at the fucking facts, now I'm not saying who I would vote for. I'm not even a fucking American citizen. I don't give a fuck. But when you look at the facts, who's in court right now and who's getting shit done? Who has done a lot of fucking shit since being the not prime minister, what do you guys call it, president?
The president, while getting verbally and, you know, publicly abused, annihilated, and people trying to take him down left and right. Like, I personally would never want to be the president. And I say that every time. Like, I don't want to have dinner with him. I don't want to sleep with him. I don't want to marry him. However, like,
we don't want to sleep with him.
Look at, right? Oh, God. And here's the thing, like, well, and here's the thing that I think is really interesting. Look at interviews. Again, education. Look at interviews for people that have worked for President Trump. Look at people who have worked for Biden. Look at people who have worked for Hillary Clinton. Like, Hillary's literally in court right now. It's a fucking fact. You can look it up. You know, whatever those emails were that got mysteriously deleted and the whole Benghazi thing. Like, again, you guys, education. A lot of people are like, oh, she's a woman. We want a woman.
Question, isn't it interesting, Olivia, that she's in court and Obama's doing something well, whilst this has just all of a sudden started?
Mm-hmm. It's because we're distracted. This is what happens. Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly. It is interesting. See, questions. Yeah. So it's looking at, you know, interviews by people and like, you know, what has Biden done for the Black community? What has Trump done for the Black community? What have they done for women? What have they done for the economy? You know, so again, like I was the same way. I was like, fuck this person. They're a misogynistic asshole. You know, I'm hearing all this shit that's all over the media. And when I actually pulled the veil back to look, again, do the same for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Look into the facts. Look at what's actually happening. And, you know, like for me personally, we tried the whole nice guy thing, the good guy for president for a long time. This is my opinion. Take what you want, leave the rest. Mm-hmm. Shit didn't get done and shit was messy, right? You look at the piece around a businessman. We've never had a businessman in the office before. Look at the rap sheet for what's gotten done in the last 3 years. Again, factually based. It's pretty insane what's actually happening while also dealing with everything going on. So before we just assumed, oh, here's another fact check that happened. During Pride, right, there was the lighthouse when Obama was in office was lit up with a rainbow, okay? And then they were like, and here's your president, and it was President Trump, and the White House was blacked out, no lights on at all. And factually, people looked into it, both pictures were from Obama's time in presidency. It actually wasn't Trump's. So again, again, look up the facts for yourself. I'm not going to sit in here and like cite everything below because this isn't a college paper that I'm trying to get a grade on. You can do the research for yourself, and who knows, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I don't really give a fuck. But it's just, again, looking at, where did they pull this from? Is this actually real? And being able to pull back and take out your ego and take out, oh, people might judge me. And instead saying, I am a human being who's independent, who can critically think for myself and can do the research. And yes, it takes time. And yes, it takes energy. But you guys, who we vote for and what ends up happening here, Australia, Canada, United States, wherever you are, this is us setting up the new world for future generations. This is a very big deal, especially as the millennial generation. We have a responsibility to start to do something about it, not just talk cute on Instagram so that everyone thinks that we're a good white leader
fucking
talking
people,
about
please. Because every time, like, this is the thing, the amount of people, and let's just sit with yourself, when the massive BLM thing started, did part of you want to just digest? And I can guarantee most of you would have wanted to go, yeah, I wanted to digest. But so many people started reposting because of fear of what would happen if they didn't repost. I had a friend that literally, and is a business advisor, and he said, I literally advised all my businesses, whether they were for, against, up, down, blue, yellow, black, whoever, to post a black square. Why? Because the scrutiny that you could get for not agreeing was so much worse than just following the trend. And this is the problem.
So to survive, we do it.
Exactly. And this is the problem. It's like, no, like people, I'm not saying that everybody just posted the black square for the sake of posting the black square. What I'm saying is that people are afraid now to think for themselves, because apparently now if you think for yourself, you're basically going to get witch hunted. And this is causing a problem because you guys, like, it's getting pretty obvious with 2020. And if you haven't picked this up yet, wake the fuck up, like America and everyone, Australia, whatever. Like, you know, information is really coming through that's telling us something else is going on. And if you haven't woken up to this, I would encourage you to wake the fuck up. It's taken me a while this year. I will agree. It's definitely taken me a while, but I'm realizing more and more that, like, we need to wake up, because I'm worried that sooner or later, like, we are going to be, a lot of us, and then the majority of us are going to be heavily brainwashed by the media, like heavily brainwashed. And like, you know, you look at movies or you look at television, and television, vision.
Wow.
Television tells a vision. You watch it enough, it becomes your vision. It becomes your reality. Why do you think so many of us have that Cinderella story in our head? We want our Prince Charming. We want flowers at the door. We want to be whisked away. You know, we want him to, like, you know, just pick us up off the side of the street. We have these fantasies. We weren't born with this in our head. It was televised and it became our vision. And then we want it. And when we feel like we don't have it, or if we feel like we believe something else, it's like, that's not enough, because it's not our reality to believe this one thing. So you need to start to just, like, pull the fuck away from all of the social media and the Instagram, because Instagram, like we said at the beginning, it only pretty much shows the common the common majority consensus,
like the group think.
Exactly, that is politically correct. Fuck
yes,
politically correct, because as we're being shown, if you haven't fucking realized, being politically correct is getting us jack shit fucking nowhere. And like, I saw it in Melbourne, for example, with my own fucking eyes, girls my age bullying Peanut, my fucking dog, like saying dumb ass shit about my fucking dog, that were on the liberal side. Like, you know what they said? Like, you probably, like, lock her up, and they said something about, like, you probably abuse her and lock her up at home. I'm like, Peanut, are you fucking kidding me? Like, if you watch my Instagram story, she is the furthest thing from fucking abused. Anyway, she sits at the fucking dinner table with my family. Point being is, these young people, they weren't born being, like, pro-liberal. It was because their family is so pro-liberal. And a lot of people, for example, and this is just in Australia, like, just not even party related, but like, your family votes for a party, or even, for example, let's actually just do AFL teams. So in Australia, AFL is like footy, right? I, for example, go for Hawthorn. not because I know anything about footy, but because my
So
family.
is footy football?
Footy is football, but not soccer. It's like a cross
Oh my
between
God,
rugby and football. I feel like if my sister hears this, she's gonna fucking kill me because she's like, "That's incorrect." Just AFL is like the Australian Football League. It's a sport, whatever. Very hot men.
Okay.
The only reason I watch is for the hot men.
Footy.
Only reason,
Okay.
hot men, hot men, hot men. Point being is, I go for Hawthorn, not because I know fuck all about Hawthorn. The reason why I go for Hawthorn is because my family goes for Hawthorn, my extended family. And when we moved to Melbourne, everybody asked me, it's like one of the first questions you get asked in Melbourne, what team do you go for? So I would just say Hawthorn. Not because I actually knew anything about Hawthorn, but because it just been like passed down. And so many people, me included, like they just vote for who their families voted for, especially young people, because we're lazy. Like, how many of us can fucking agree to the fact that it's our worst nightmare to sit and learn about politics? The worst fucking thing. Guys, I will fucking say this out loud, and it is shitty for me to say, but I'm going to say it. When it comes around to voting, right? I know that I vote for my dad. Like for that election, I voted for my dad, obviously. I know for voting, I literally asked my parents, and I memorized in my head the numbers on the sheet. I've got a photographic memory. I memorized the numbers in my sheet. I go in, I do it, and I leave. I don't know who the fuck the people are. I ask my parents, and I guarantee you at least 90% of you listening would be doing the exact same thing. You ask your partner, you ask your parents, you ask somebody else, who do I vote for? And because you trust them, you trust their opinion. It does not mean that what they believe is wrong. But what I'm telling you guys is I'm just showing you, I'm trying to get you guys to question of like, wow, how much do I not actually make my own choices? I am a sheep. I'm like, bah, and I follow the fucking crowd. Let's go over to the effing parlor and get a makeover, bitches.
Yes. Or like if you were like me, your parents, you wanted to rebel. So like you said, fuck you parents. I know you're voting for this person.
Yeah.
And then I voted for the opposite person. Like that's what I did just to like piss them off I mean, in all honesty, I'll admit it with my dad, for example, I discredited him as, oh, you're just some like conservative evangelical. Like I'm not listening to you because you're so, one-sided. When I actually sat down and had a conversation with him, like critically, and we're just like kind of challenging each other back and forward, he actually studies all different angles and he would send me shit. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then I was like, kind of had to swallow my words. And I had a client tell me this too. Her mom, super conservative, she just like wrote her off because we're so woke and spiritual, so we like write them off of like, fuck you, you don't know. And then her mom, she literally texted me yesterday. She said, oh my God, my mom is way more woke than I thought. Like, oh my God, I think she's actually like, I actually agree with her. And this is kind of freaking me out. So it's so wild, but that's really it. Or here in America for football, my dad was from Wisconsin and we lived in Minnesota. So everyone around me is a Vikings fan. Well, I am what my dad was, Packers fan. And I always used to joke that, oh, I have to, be a Packers fan or I wouldn't have a place to live as a kid, because my dad was like so crazy about football.
Wow.
So it really is.
How many people that's like ingrained in their brain. If I don't agree, I will die.
And that's biological
programming. Like
it's biological. Actually, we want to survive.
Because if we think about the bullying going on right now, it's like, if I don't agree, my business will die. That's actually a fucking thing right now. If I do not agree, well, not even agree, if I do not post about it, let's actually take away the word agree. If I do not post about it, right, then my business will die. And
then I will die because then I won't have food. I won't be able to pay my bills. Oh my God, I'll have nothing. I will be on the street and die.
Exactly. Damn, that's like a real fucking thing. Yeah. You won't have a place to live. So that's just like shit programmed into us.
Question it. Yeah. It's just how I really do too. It's conditioning and it's just how we're hardwired. We are community connection based beings. It's why COVID was so hard for so many of us because we thrive on connection and we want to fit in. We want to belong with our, tribe, our clan, our family of origin because that is safe to us. And then therefore we will survive. So it really is in our DNA. So this is scary. And I personally, as I've unpacked things through looking at anti-racism and whatnot, I go to safe white spaces for me to talk about it. I don't expect expect Black people to caretake my feelings. So I talk about it in safe spaces. I was laughing with my dad about how I have like a support group with like you and those other people, or like, you know, all these people that kind of are thinking the same way we are and are willing to question and to challenge versus just agreeing with everything.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, that's funny. You guys have like a little support group over there. And I was like, yeah, because I need a place to belong so I don't feel so isolated and scary and alone over here. And that's been really helpful. So that's why we're saying just start asking the questions. You know, it's like, if this photo is being shown, when was it taken? If this is being said, what do they mean? If this person is running,
photos,
what are
guys,
the
Photoshop? I'm just going to leave that, the word Photoshop. Just there you go, the end, like Photoshop. Needed to say that.
So the other thing that I saw happening a lot, because I know we have so much here and we don't have to go into all of it in this episode, but I know that another thing we both saw was, for example, let's defund the police. Okay, I don't care what your beliefs are on that, but how many of us actually knew when we were like, defund the police? How many of us actually knew what the fuck that even meant? How many of us thought critically and said, okay, if we defund the police, what is the plan? If we're protesting and we're like, okay, we want equality, what is the end goal? Like, where are we? What are the systems that actually need to change, rather than just being like, fuck systemic oppression, we need to change this? Yes, and what is the goal? What is it that needs to change? Because so many of us actually couldn't answer that. We just are reposting it and saying it without thinking critically and actually like pulling back. Do I personally want to, you know, and defund the police can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. So again, some people say it's to abolish the police. Some people say it's just to take some of the funding away. So is it?
Yeah, well, my concern with this defunding the police business is I don't think people, like, my question to you guys is, when you're saying or reposting defund the police, right now, let's just pause for a second. I want you to think to yourself, what does defund the police mean? Right. It means take the funding away. So that will mean, let's go down this path. So that will mean if there is no funding to the police, right, there will be less police, if not no police. So what about all of the kids that have just died and the massive amount of murders that have happened in the last week in Chicago that, I mean, where the fuck is that being flooded all over Instagram? That apparently doesn't matter anymore. And it's Black people. What about all of them? So what would happen if we had no police? That would be worse. There would be more of them. What would happen? What about the woman that was held at gunpoint by George Floyd, right? A lot of us also, agree. We can all agree, by the way, the way George Floyd was killed was fucking disgusting, inhumane, absolutely gross. And that dude, yes, should be in prison and like deserves his punishment 1,000,000%. And all the police that were not doing anything about it. Agreed. We can all agree on that. And I will admit, when it first happened, I was disgusted and I assumed, right, again, another assumption, I assumed that George Floyd was an innocent Black man that had been targeted and that had been killed because of him being Black. Now, when I started doing research, how many of you knew that he was on methamphetamine and fentanyl? How many of you knew
at the time of his arrest and death? And again, the death was extremely wrong. And yes, that is an issue. Yes, the police needs reform.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many of you knew that he pointed a gun to a pregnant woman's belly, right? And while him and his gang or whoever raided the house. Now, for that woman, the police caught him, right, because of his number plate. What would have happened? So if that scenario now played out next year, for example, where there was no police, is it safe to say that maybe that pregnant woman wouldn't be alive? Maybe. Or that he would still be on the loose. How many criminals would then be able to get away with what they get away with because there's no police, where they can't be caught? Who do you call when you're in a domestic abuse situation? Who do you call when you're scared? Who do you call when you've been raped? You don't have anybody. Like, who do you call, guys, when you're in a fucking car crash? Who do you call? There is nobody to call. And my concern is that this is now a trending word and people are saying it without actually taking a step back and going, is that actually what we want? Like, do you want to defund the doctors in Australia so that you can't go and get you can't go and get help for free? Is that what you want to do? Because, you know, it's not the same thing, but it's similar. We need both of them. They're both necessary, and they both fuck up. Humans fuck up. Yes.
Yep.
American police in particular need a lot more training and a lot more background checks. And I don't know whether I put this in our document, but keep talking. I'm going to find that thing that I found, Olivia, about the training, the different trainings, the different.
There's a lot. I mean, the police need to be reformed. There needs to be anti-racism work. Yes, there are racist cops. Yes, we are not denying that. Like, listening to Black people's experiences of being with cops. Well, then what about the Lil Wayne video that's going viral, but is actually getting hidden a lot, where a white cop saved his life and he was like, holy shit, there is no racism, you know? Like, again, it's listening to Black experiences all across the board rather than just the one narrative. Now, here's the thing, defund the police. Some people that means abolish the police completely. And like, we can, as communities, protect each other, which that terrifies me, but okay, you do you. Other people believe that.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Other people.
I'm not.
Other people believe that, you know, defunding the police just means taking away some of that funding. So there's a lot of, again, even within one belief system, a lot of different beliefs there. Then the question is, like, for a while, they wanted to take our guns away in America, and I know Monica and I don't totally agree on this, and that's okay.
Yeah.
They wanted to take our guns away because the police have guns. Well, now you want to get rid of the police. Like, I'm sorry. My family needs to be protected. I personally believe, yes, guns need better background checks. We need mental health help. We need, you know, it needs to be harder to get a gun. Yes, 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 and yes. And if you try to come into my house and take my guns, shit's going to go south. You know, that's not going to be a good idea. My other thing is, how about this? We say that, you know, George Floyd, a lot of people are saying, well, he was trying to change. He was trying to change. He was trying to change. Well, how about the whole Amy Cooper thing? Amy Cooper, the white woman in the park, called the police about a Black man, and he was an innocent Black man. I think he was like bird watching or something. And that was racially motivated, right? She had an assumption in her head of, he is Black, now I'm in danger. That's her own anti-racism bullshit she needs to work on. Yes, she was not right. But now New York is trying to pass a bill called the Amy Cooper bill. Amy Cooper lost her job. Amy Cooper got her dog taken away. Amy Cooper is known across the entire media of being an evil human being. But George Floyd can change, but Amy Cooper can't. So if we're going to pick a narrative, if we're going to pick a side of, you either can change or you're who you are forever when you fuck up, then we need to decide it needs to be equal. Whether you're Black, Asian, white, indigenous, whatever the fuck you are, then it needs to be an equal thing. Again, what Amy Cooper did was extremely wrong. Do we need to call like an actual law after her and like make that burned into people's memories? Like, and Nicole Arbor said on Twitter, do you want this woman to kill herself? Like, is that the plan? Because right now we're destroying her reputation from one mistake that has unconscious bias that she needs to work on. Yes, we can all agree on that. And why is George Floyd then being painted as a martyr when he has an entire rap sheet of his criminal history, but we're all saying that he can change? Where is it's like a double standard. There's no, like, yeah, it's not fair.
It's not fair. And this is where you need to allow for human error. And even what we're seeing where people are saying on social media, like, you know, they're sorry, or they're admitting to, like, you know, not being aware of their privilege or whatever it is. And then they're being beaten down because they're saying it the wrong way. It's like, guys, we're all learning. Just because someone has said it wrong or you've been offended by what they've said does not mean that you rip them down and, like, virtually throw stones at them. That's not being a nice human being. And I think
that's perpetuating trauma.
Exactly.
Which is what's coming up to heal right now.
Exactly. Now, I can't find the stats. I found a fucking stat document somewhere of the difference in time and training in each policeman, X, Y, and Z. Bottom line was where was it? I wish I could bloody find it. Bottom line is that on the stats, the American police force has the lowest amount of training. Now, that does concern me because which country in the world has the most amount of guns? America. So I think we can I definitely would say that I believe that the American police system needs a fuck ton of training, especially if everybody can have their own gun, like all citizens can have a gun, and if they can have a gun as well. They absolutely need a shit ton of training because in Australia, there's way more training for police, for example, and we are not allowed to have guns, right? So we can all agree, I think that we can all agree that there is definitely more support and reform needed for the police. But I saw this like amazing video where a black police was talking to a black man, and the black man was saying like, why are you doing this to us? And the police was going, why are you doing this to us? Like, I don't choose to be a policeman for the money. Every day we go out knowing we could die. Like you were saying this about your friend, like every day a policeman goes out knowing that they could die, and they do it to protect us. Majority of men that go into police work, just like majority of people that go to be a doctor, it's not for just the money. It's not for the status. It's because they have this calling. I don't know about you, but the idea of like, you know, being a surgeon on call all the time and always have to go into surgeries and X, Y, and Z doesn't sound like the greatest job in the world to me, but they do it because they want to help people. Most doctors, I do my job, right? Because I want to help people. I don't do it for the money. Because it's so much work and it's a lot of energy. And I know that you're the same. I don't do it for the money. The money is great, but I do it because it's my soul calling. And it's kind of heartbreaking to watch personally when I'm watching all these people demonize policemen. Imagine if we demonized all doctors for mistakes.
Because of malpractice. Yeah.
I know. And there's plenty of, I can guarantee there's plenty of doctors out there. And Candace Owens, I think, was saying in her video of like, there's psychos. There's literally psychopaths that become doctors so that they can kill people. And we aren't, where are they in the news? They're not anywhere.
Or like you said, like if people came after life coaches because they had one bad experience with a life coach, you know, like, well, then we would all be demonized. Like it's a lot of assumption. It's a lot of like this idea. I mean, I even look at, speaking of like correcting what you were saying of like, we need to learn like people can change. We also need to learn like, you know, people make mistakes. Think about, have you ever watched like TV shows or movies that were like maybe a decade ago where there are like some things where you're like, oh fuck, like that being said now, that person would get like so scrutinized.
Like some of those romantic shows with men and women, the way that like men treat women, it's like, oh my God, if you did that now, the show wouldn't be allowed basically.
Well, or like Joe and I watched the movie Pitch Perfect before he left. And I remember they said something in there that I was like, if that got said now, that would get screenshot, put on blast. Like the writers would get fired. People would get blasted on social media. Like shit changes. We're becoming more awake and more aware. That's what's like literally our planet right now has these higher frequencies coming in because our planet is evolving. Our planet is going up in frequency. From my studies, do your own research. Earth is one of the lowest frequency planets that there is. We have some of the most pain and suffering out of every planet. We are going into a new world. All of the astrology backs it up. These high frequencies come in. The low frequencies are kind of like getting shaken up and those can't last. So there's a spiritual warfare happening. There are evil forces, dark forces. I don't say this to scare you. At the end of the day, the light is always more powerful than the dark. We've been preparing for this for lifetimes as healers, as people who are awake, as people who are willing to do our part. It's going to work out for the greatest good, but shit is fucking wild right now because all of this is happening and it's like light versus dark and there's a war happening on consciousness and we're being asked to wake up, which is what this entire podcast is about. You should read this one here, this tweet about the 3 Black teenagers. What about this? Like, what about this question?
Okay, so here you go. And even guys, if you haven't become aware of this, so I've got an article here from Forbes. 18 people were murdered. This is June 8, 2020. 18 people were murdered in Chicago on May 31st. By the way, I've checked multiple sources and I went to Forbes, making it the city's single deadliest day in 60 fucking years. Right? 18 people killed. Now, there's a video going out, which we will link below, of a Black woman screaming at all these protesters saying, stop what you're doing because this is not what BLM is about, right? And this is, you can watch the video. I'm like literally quoting her. This is not what BLM is about. You are protesting for one man per se. What about the 10 kids or whatever the exact number were that just died in Chicago? They are who we need to be fighting for because the black on black crime rate is so high compared to the white on black crime rate and the black on white crime rate. Like people aren't seeing the full picture. So we're going to put all the graphs and stuff below, but basically, the next highest murder total for a single day was August 4th, 1991, when 13 people were killed in Chicago, according to the Crime Lab, which has numbers going back to 1961. So look, okay, Chicago mayor said on May 31st, the city's 911 emergency center, I've got goosebumps, received 65,000 calls for all types of services. Full body goosebumps, 50,000 more than on a typical day. Now, guys, there is a systemic issue, and it's not just, I do not believe in the bottom of my heart that it is just about a race issue. I also believe that we are not seeing the truth that America, I will say in particular, has a terrible welfare system, a terrible health system, where if you are born into poverty or you are born into a neighborhood that is not the most beautiful, bougie neighborhood, you can get trapped into these cycles. And unfortunately, there is no beautiful system to help you get out of it. And so hence we're seeing all of these crime rates. And if that does not scream problem to you, I don't know what does. 65,000 fucking calls in one day. In one day. Okay. From Friday, 7 p.m., 7 p.m. Friday, May 29th through 11 p.m. Sunday, May 31st, a total of 25 people were killed in the city, with another 85 wounded by gunfire. I'm like, and you want to defund the police? And you think that having more anger and more rage is going to help this? This to me is a problem with the system. And posting Instagram shit does not fix the system. And even I will go as far to say, just screaming in the streets and vandalizing things, it shows anger, but does it fix the system? No. You know what fixes the system? People getting involved in the one thing they don't want to get involved in, because like, I'm not going to get involved in politics. They need to get involved in politics. And I feel like
millennials, wake the fuck up. Gen Z or whoever came after us, wake the fuck up. I don't care if you don't want to get involved in politics. What this podcast should be showing you is it is literally one of your duties and responsibilities as a human being on this planet to vote, to not just vote based on whatever, but to actually educate yourself. There is so much fucking here, and it is up to us. If you plan on having children, or if you have nieces and nephews, what kind of world do you want them to grow up in? No matter what country you're in, it is up to you to be doing your part. It's not just enough to be like, oh, well, I'm a trauma therapist, so that's enough. That's beautiful. Yes, we need you right now. Abso-fucking-lutely. And you better actually put some action behind that because these systems are like the overarching theme, or you could look at it as the foundation of which everything else is built. Exactly. And so all of this trauma is coming up right now. We have to heal it. And then we have to put some words behind and some action behind what we're actually doing to create change.
So like, I encourage you guys, like, start having political conversations with your friends. It doesn't mean that you're going to become a politics nerd. And if your friends start to like disown you as friends because you have a different viewpoint, that's on them. You can have friends, like Olivia is pro-gun and I am super anti-gun. And it does not mean that I'm like, we can't be friends, right? We're allowed to have different viewpoints, and it's healthy to be able to have those friendships where you can actually go back and forth with each other and question each other in a healthy manner. So if you guys haven't seen the video from Candace Owens is a Black woman, and she did a video of how she does not support all the stuff going on with George Floyd at the moment. She does not support people using him as a hero, basically. So a couple of days ago, it was 70 million views, and she said that she's had celebrities and athletes message me. Now, this is an issue, okay, guys? I've had celebrities and athletes message me from all around the world, thanking me, telling me they agree with me, but they have to publicly support BLM or risk being labeled as racist by the mob. This is how the silent majority is created. Now, I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm not saying about whether I support BLM or I don't. And actually, I do support BLM. But again, this is the same issue, I believe, with the Me Too movement. BLM was meant to be about helping Black crime, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, Olivia. It was about Black Lives Matter. But now what we're seeing is it's going too extreme, in my opinion, just like the Me Too movement, just like the feminist movement. And now we're seeing like if you are white, basically, you have what's now called white toxicity. Like you have white guilt, and you should be, and as this Instagram post said, if you feel white guilt, you should feel guilty. Like if you feel guilty, you should, basically. If we look at the feminist movement, guys, the feminist movement is actually about creating equality between men and women. Now, the truth is, we're never going to create full equality because we're actually two different fucking human beings, right? We're literally so fucking different. We have different fucking white and gray matter in our brain. So like, good luck with that one. But the feminist movement, and I've talked about this, is it's gone so extreme that basically now if you are a feminist, you're anti-men. That's what a lot of feminists has now become, that if you're feminist, it's like, I'm better than men. Now, the feminist movement was created for equality, but we've gone too far to the extreme. And this is kind of what Candace Owens, I believe, I personally perceive as saying, is that Black Lives Matter. However, what we're seeing now is it's going too far. It's being taken out of the original context of what it was created for. And now if you say, for example, I do not support the really, really strong feminist movement, you're now apparently like a bitch or whatever people are going to call you, that kind of stuff. So that's a problem. And then if you look at the other post that I've got here as well, three black teenagers, by the way, Candace Owens told us that they were also black. Three black, which doesn't even matter, but I guess for the context of our argument it does. Three black teenagers who robbed and killed the white college student, Tessa Majors, have all been arrested and pled guilty. And this is I'm reading what she's saying. And this woman is black. If three white kids killed a black girl, it would have been called lynching. Why wasn't this considered a racially motivated crime?
Mm-hmm.
So what if we were to go like feminist, and Olivia, like jump in whenever you want, cut me off. But if we were to go to feminist, it's like if a woman abuses a man now, like verbally abuses, she's standing up for herself, and it's
or physically abuses. Yeah,
there's
a lot of domestic violence that is actually women on men.
Exactly, it's totally fine. But if a man would say that to a woman, incorrect. I'm going to use a very basic example, guys, to paint the picture for you. So now if a man holds a door open for a woman in the workplace, that can be classed as sexual harassment. If a woman held open the door to a man, that apparently is fine. Can we see the double standard here? And what I'm really coming to all the time is like, let's be decent humans. So like thinking about, is there a double standard? And does that feel good for me? Does that feel good in your soul?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The other questions I want to pose here, kind of piggybacking off of what you said, who funds the Black Lives Matter movement? Here's the thing. The idea that Black Lives Matter and the actual Black Lives Matter movement that is like actually trademarked and whatever, like an actual thing, very different. And look at who funds it. Look into George Soros, look into Antifa, look into these things. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Think what you want, believe what you want, look into it. I started at the beginning of all this donating money left and right of like, oh fuck, it's my duty. I have money. I need to go donate it. And I just started donating like random shit that people were posting. I didn't look into any of it and see like, does this align with my values? Like, do I stand behind this, right? Yes, donating money is important, but where is your money going? Very important to see. Where are the millions of dollars that the Black Lives Matter movement has raised? Where is that actually going? I don't know, right? Minnesota Freedom Fund.
I don't know, because why are so many people dying in Chicago? Black people. Where is this?
Right. Where's the protest in Chicago to fight for those people? Like, it's really interesting. Like, look at even Candace had shared a graph of this. Brandon Tatum did. David Harris. Lots of different people have shared this graph. So just because Monica's saying, here's what Candace Owens is saying, we're not like, oh, only Candace Owens. Yeah. These are just things that we're seeing, but they're everywhere. Yeah. Look at when Black Lives Matter was a big deal in 2016. Yeah. And it peaked in 2016 in the summer. And then we had an election in Yep. And then, so it peaked in the summer. We had the election. It went silent, right? Like, where the fuck is it? You can literally look at the graph. Yep. And now here we are, summer 2020. Again, it's an election year. It's peaked. Where's it going to go, right? Like, what is the momentum moving forward? What about all the Black people that were killed in between? Now, you can also look at the other side. And you can say, oh, well, we have video now. Video, yes, was a thing all those years. So, like, to me, I'm still with that argument. Like, but the video's always been a thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, but here's the thing is when we're getting it on video, unfortunately, it is taking that for more white people to wake up. I'm not denying that. That's unfortunate. You know, we do need to be looking at this work. We do need to be looking at this. But just again, what are the numbers? What are the patterns? Like, what are the facts here? Another question for you. A lot of people were very up in arms when like everything at the borders was happening and ICE was like, and people were in cages and, you know, it was so depressing. Like children are getting ripped from their parents. A lot of people said Trump started that. Please do your research and actually look that started presidents before. So again, though, it's only an issue. And now we're all aware of it because the collective, the majority think, the group think is fuck Donald Trump. And again, I don't care who you vote for. I don't care who you believe in. I really don't. Like I could sit at a table with everyone that thinks differently than me. Fucking love you. I think that you're great. If that feels good for you, you do you. Have your truth. I don't think friendships or client relationships or anything has to end over that because it's not what it's about. It's about everyone being able to hold their own individual truth in their body. And I respect that. But it's just, again, look into the facts. That's all we're saying. Think critically. Ask the questions. Is this like Candace said with this, you know, it'd be a lynching if it was white people to a black person. So why isn't it, if it's the opposite, still a racially motivated crime? Just think, sit with it. Just, you don't even need to answer it. Just be with that question. Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. And what was I going to say? I was trying to thought with the Candace Owens thing. I can't remember what I was going to say though. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So what we discussed the other day on the phone is like, privilege is totally a thing. Now in America, everywhere, not just America, it happens in Australia. If you have money, you get whatever the fuck you want.
Look at Hollywood. Look at Hollywood.
That is a fucking problem. So personally, I'm seeing this more as privilege. Because if we would also look at the facts, guys, there are plenty of white people that also get stuck in the shitty poverty cycle in America. Latinos, Asians, anybody that's born into a poverty cycle. And because they get less healthcare, because you guys have to get healthcare, you have to get insurance through your fucking jobs, then you lose your jobs with Corona. So who is going to get the most amount of Corona cases? Those people. And we've written about this and I've got it in my notes. And it's not because Corona is racially motivated. It's because the system does not support people getting out of the cycle of poverty. So my question, and I want you guys to be really like asking yourself before you think about anything, before you even when you guys are looking at newspaper articles, right? For example, the Daily Mail. The Daily fucking Mail is bullshit. Who has got the money behind X? Who has got the money behind, let me just fucking pull a movement. Who's got the money behind the Daily Mail? Who's got the money behind the Me Too movement? Who's got the money behind the BLM movement, not Black Lives Matter, but the actual fucking movement? Who has got the money behind the political campaigns, right? And how much money is behind them? You need to ask yourself these questions because unfortunately, this world that we live in, you can literally get whatever the fuck you want by paying whoever the fuck you want. And we're seeing that more and more and more, and it's fucking disgusting. And
yep. I think too, if I can say this, also know, like if you're the prime minister, if you're the president, if you're whoever, you actually only have so much power. Who has the power is like, you know, there's Congress that backs them, right? There are the people, power of the people. That is what, is it democracy? This is really embarrassing. I don't know. Democracy is, right? The power of the people. This can feel hopeless. This can feel like, well, shit, what can I actually do? If we unify, that's why the scariest thing that's happening right now is that we're dividing. So therefore we don't have very much power. Yeah. When we come together, which you can see happening in the protests, as people are protesting, changes are happening. I'm not denying that. As we're spreading awareness, change is happening, but we have to be unified. So why are we bullying each other and shaming each other and trying to create further divide when actually, if we came together, even if we have differing of opinions, we have power. Like it's a collective thing. It's going to take all of us, boots on the fucking ground in our own roles to make change. So instead of blaming a president, like the people that, I don't care if you voted for them or not, even when like people win that I don't vote for, why would we ever wish ill will on someone that is our leader? Why would we ever root for them to fail? What is that helping?
I know.
Instead, why aren't we meditating and like sending our energy there? Why aren't we praying about it? Why aren't we, getting together and trying to figure out, like, look at Kanye West and Kim Kardashian and the changes that they can make because they don't go against the leader. They say, okay, well, here's who's in office now, I guess. And they were friends with Obama and Trump. Here's who's in office now. So can I go into the White House? And not everyone can do this, but can I use my privilege for good and free people from prison and create change and donate money here? And they're doing it in tandem with leadership versus saying, fuck you, you are, a misogynistic asshole. Therefore, I'm just going to say, I hope he fails. I hope he fails. I hope he fails. Like, you guys, you're rooting for your very leader to fail, which means therefore then your country starts to fail. Like, I don't understand how that's helping anyone.
Exactly. So look, guys, if you Google, if you look at these stats for the Google searches, as I said before, they peaked in 2016 before the American election, and they've peaked again. So my question is for you. So after the election, for all of those years between 2016 and 2020, all of those years after the election, do Black Lives not matter? And what happens, guys, fucking answer this for me. What happens to the 10 kids that were killed in that dodgy suburb in Chicago? What happens to the day that just happened where how many people just got murdered? What was it? The 18 people were murdered. What happens to all of them, right? What happens to all of them when the election is over? So something else I wanted to, what else do you want to go over?
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about, like, let's kind of, I think, wrap on, because we can, of course, always do more of these. But again, like, even stuff that we said, we had someone fact check our last one and some things were off. So, like, again, this isn't about saying, here's the truth, like, if one of us said something wrong, guess what? Hi, human. Like, there's literally like pages and pages of notes over here. Yeah. Literally, we've been like researching for a whole week.
Legit.
We're tired. Like, there's a lot. So take what you want, leave the rest. If you're like, oh, that doesn't sound right, Google it. You don't have to come at me and go in my inbox and be like, fuck you, you're wrong. Yeah. I'm human. I make mistakes. Just going to forewarn you. I'm not an activist. That's not what I consider myself. No. But I want to talk about maybe like, okay, so where do they go from here? So we've talked about obviously researching. When it comes to like the spiritual warfare, we're going to link a podcast below by Jake Woodard, super powerful, about what's going on right now, the energy update here. But you guys, the only thing you can control is your energy. The only thing you can control is who you are and like the actions that you're taking. So every day, multiple times a day, unhook and come back into your own energy and really figure out what frequency am I omitting? And that is actually helping the collective consciousness when we're like rippling that out. He even said it in his podcast. He said, my goal every day is how high can I get my frequency so that if the wind hits me, it's like it takes my frequency and it spreads it far and wide for the greater good of all human beings and for all of this planet. How powerful is that versus being like, I don't know. I don't want to get bullied. And I don't know, like, it's too much. And like, I'm just one person. So it's okay. I won't vote. Like you're one human, but that all of us coming together as one human at a time can create change.
Yes. So a few last things I also want to mention. So looking at a BBC document that I definitely fact checked and whatnot, which we'll put in the links below. So you can see the percentage of the fatal shootings compared to percentage of population by ethnicity. And what this article is also saying is African Americans are arrested for drug abuse at a much higher rate than white Americans, even though the survey shows drug use at similar levels for both groups. Now, we want to say I fucking agree to every cell in my body that African Americans have been disproportionately affected by the system. And that is fucked. I mean, even for example, what about the shooting of, I think I say his name wrong, Abnoud Abri, who was 25-year-old black man jogging.
Arbery.
Yep.
Ahmaud
He was gunned down by two white men in February. And the media portrayed that incorrectly, didn't it? Weren't you saying that, Olivia?
It depends on where you look, but yes. But it's still, again, we can all agree, like, it is not okay, right? But like, there are pieces there, and I don't have like, I didn't save any of like the things I was looking at, but there have been people that said he was fighting for the gun and the gun went off. So do I know it? Here's the thing. In the media, it was like he was just jogging down the street and got shot and killed. when you look at it, and the videos and the witnesses that were there. And again, who knows? I don't know these people. I wasn't there questioning them, so I wasn't able to tune into the energy of it and like feel for the truth.
Reports. Look at the police reports.
Right.
Because there's literally scanned documents. Like, I have got George Floyd's police report saved in my downloaders right fucking here. Scanned police documents about the arrest of him holding literally George Floyd pointing a gun at a woman's abdomen. .jpeg. It's legit right here. You can look at these for yourself, and it's important to do so and not just take what they're saying by like as the Bible. But even with this case, it's like, where is the protest for him? My question is, and I know people will say, well, Floyd was the straw that broke the camel's back. But my question is, it's just really, to me, in my eyes, it's really good fucking timing. Because what about Brenda, and what happened with her and her shooting when police just came?
Breonna Taylor, and her people still haven't been arrested. What about her? Why aren't we like wearing her t-shirt?
Exactly. So. Yeah. And I know that on social media we have been posting about her and X, Y, and Z, but my question is, like, isn't it fucking good timing? So with the African Americans, like in 2018, African Americans represented almost a third of the country's prison population. So what I've also got here is the average rate of incarceration by race and ethnicity per 100,000 population, and it is much higher for Black people, right? So we can all agree that there is more Black people, 1,000,000% in prisons. Now, a couple of questions to ask yourself. The Black on Black crime rate is monumentally higher than the white on Black crime rate, right? The interracial violent crime incident 2018, about 500,000 Black on white, so Black crime on white people. Okay. And then you've got for white on Black, about 60,000. I'm just rounding up a little bit, about 60,000 white on Black. So you've got to remember also that the Blacks killed by Blacks and the murder of Black and whites in the US, it's a little bit outdated here, but 2013 was 53.94% per 100 million members of the murderer's race, compared to 0.77%, which is the Blacks killed by whites. We're going to put the sources here, so if you're visual, you can look at them because it's hard to understand numbers when you're listening to something. Point being is, there are more violent suburbs in America, right? My dad was actually telling me that when we used to live in New York, like taxi drivers wouldn't even take you to certain suburbs in New York because there was more violent suburbs. Now, that's a problem. So more deaths are occurring, particularly Black on Blacks, and therefore more of them are being arrested at the scene. So hence we get these types of numbers. And it is interesting how people can portray these numbers differently to fit a narrative. And then you've got that YouTube of the girl screaming, trying to tell you and show you that Blacks are dying because of violent suburbs, and a white person is telling her to shut the fuck up. That to me is a problem. Again,
it's like it is. If you don't agree with this one narrative, then you're wrong. It's like there's silence is violence, and you're wrong if you're silent. If you speak up and use your voice to, again, she's literally saying, yes, Black Lives Matter. Yes, we need to be protesting, but it's not from her point of view, again, from a Black person. This is not my opinion. She's saying, I am not oppressed. I am free. Yes, Blacks are dying, but like, let's go there then where Blacks are killing Blacks and let's fight for that. And we're not denying there is racism. We do need to work on that. The systems, Monica's very clearly laying it out. The prison system, right? The police reform, the education system, the healthcare, the welfare, the poverty cycles, the violence. Like, you guys, there is so much here. But why are we only getting one piece of that? We're being distracted. Like, look at what's going on in the courts this week. Look at what's going on with, people getting indicted. Like, look at what's going on and just see, okay, can I zoom out and just look at all of the different pieces and recognize that me being white doesn't mean that I am a problem or that I am broken and that I need to be fixed. Yeah. The system needs to be fixed. The system needs to be actually just dismantled and recreated because it was built by our ancestors on a lot of different pieces. As far as the slavery and as far as white supremacy and as far as the patriarchy and different pieces. I'm not saying that that's not true, but it's like we're misdirecting our focus and it's taking us away from the bigger picture.
Exactly. So last thing I want to quickly mention that I wrote down that is important to just like make people aware of. So African Americans, they have been disproportionately affected by the outbreak of corona, or quote unquote corona, because in 2016 it was found that the typical net worth of a white family in America was found to be 10 times greater than that of a black family. And black families are almost twice as likely not to have medical insurance. That screams problem to me. Problem with the fucking system. Okay. To me personally, shaming white people and saying that it's, that we should have white guilt. If I'm shamed, I don't know about you, Olivia, but when I feel shame, I turn into a hermit. I'm not like being an activist on the street. Shame breeds more shame. The US needs to create a better welfare system, 1,000,000,000%. However, does this mean that white people need to be on their knees on national television? Guys, this has been shown. White people on their knees on national television apologizing for being white. Is that what this means to make the system better? Because that to me, I actually don't understand. Like, someone tell me if they know why. I actually don't understand. And I can't comprehend how white people feeling shame and apologizing on national television is going to help create an empowering new equal system. I literally don't understand it. So how is, if white is now a quote unquote disease as it's being quoted, I'm confused. Like, you want me to fix the system, but now you're suppressing me? Like, you're suppressing white people. And the truth is, there's a lot of white people in America. They are going to have a louder voice because there's more of them. You want us to fix the system. Beautiful. But shaming us, or shaming me.
And we're doing it wrong.
Right.
Yep.
Doesn't empower me to want to help you. It makes me feel guilt, and that breeds more guilt. And shame ain't gonna breed fucking action. So that's my piece.
Absolutely. And there is I was talking to one of my girlfriends who happens to be Black, and she was talking about how more Black women die in childbirth. And there's a lot of issues there. And I was like, that's so fascinating. Can we pull back and look at the system of why? And can we fight for that? There are issues, right? And there are things that are wrong that need to be fixed. Abso-fucking-lutely. My other question is, I've looked at a lot of Black experiences that don't fit the mainstream narrative. Those people are being told that they're not Black. And I'm like, okay, their skin color doesn't change because they don't believe the narrative, but okay, they're getting called names left and right. They're getting disowned by the Black community, which is absolutely asinine to me. And then they also say white privilege is you telling me that you are superior to me as a white person and me as a Black person. Now I am made to feel inferior, like being Black is a disability. And they're in a completely different mindset around it. And again, one isn't right or wrong, but can we look at, again, the bigger picture of, so we need to be over here on our knees, apologizing for being white. I am toxic. I am the problem. I have white privilege. Oh my God, I'm so sorry about that. And then over here, it's like some Black people are taking that as, fuck you. I'm not oppressed. I do not have a disability, and you are not superior to me. I get to have whatever the fuck I want because I work hard for it. So it's like, you guys, you have to just look at all of the different sides to this, and all of the different lenses and angles and the different layers, and see that, and recognize there can be a both and. One of my very best friends, she really does believe that there is a race issue and that there's spiritual warfare happening. I believe that there's spiritual warfare. I believe that there's systemic issues. And yes, I do believe that there can be race involved in that, and we need to look at that as well. But this doesn't mean you need to go sign up for every single workshop and I had a client that was like, well, I need to find a Black healer. That's just tokenism. If you're only hiring someone because they're Black and you feel guilty about it, they don't want that. They don't want you to do that. Go with where your energy resonates.
Just stop for a second. Are you actually getting involved in more racism or equality?
More division?
Because if you follow some Black people that are not buying into the mainstream Instagram social media narrative, they're actually saying, do you white people realize that what you're doing is the definition of racism?
Also,
when I saw that, I was like, whoa, they're kind of right. Like, we're telling Black people that they're oppressed and that we're better than them. Isn't that kind of the definition of racism?
And just look at the history. Look at the history of who freed the slaves, right? Because we're made to believe in media that it's one party, and it actually is the opposite. So again, sitting with these things, isn't this interesting?
Yeah.
That's it.
Definition of racism. Are we ready? Prejudice,
I'm ready.
discrimination directed against somebody of a different race, that doesn't say the word black, different race, based on the belief that one's own race is superior. So a lot of white people are literally saying, I'm superior to you. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, that would be classified as racism. Just a question for you to just check in. Is this causing more divide? Is the media doing a good job of causing more divide so that they can take away freedom? Or is it doing a good job at creating equality? Because right now, with the amount of bullying that I'm receiving and that we're witnessing, it's actually doing a damn good job at creating more hate between people, even of the same fucking race. Like black people telling black people you're no longer black, and white people pointing to other white people and saying that you're a fucking racist for choosing to keep their Instagram normal.
Damn. It runs so deep, and it reminds me of how feminism started, right? And then what it turned into, right? And in this modern day, it's watching like what Martin Luther King fought for and then what it's turned into. Like, it's just, again, zoom out, you guys. Like, just, and I love that you said it, just like pause with these questions. You don't even need to find an answer. No. Just pause. What happens in your body and find it there, and really be with that. I could go on, but that's what I'm going to leave you with. Like, what is your body telling you? Your mind will be tricked and controlled and brainwashed. Your ego can take over. Your, critical thinking can even get to be so much, but your body doesn't lie. What is happening in your body? And do you have safe spaces who will love you and not judge you, even if you disagree or they disagree, that you can start to unpack this in? Because I'm not going to lie. When I remember Monica and I both calling each other and being like, please don't judge me, but like, I'm having these thoughts. And when we were able to realize, oh fuck, we're actually on the same page. This is really fascinating. Again, we still disagree on certain aspects, and that's okay. I don't expect my friends to just agree with everything that I'm saying. I expect them to think for themselves, just as I do my clients. But it is really like, find the safe spaces for you to feel supported in this, because the amount of shaming, the amount of bullying, the amount of division is heartbreaking. And all that's going to do is put you into a corner. It's going to make you feel depressed. It's going to make you feel like you're not welcome, and you are, no matter what you believe.
Like, no matter what your background is, who you believe in, what the color of your eyes, skin, hair, anybody, we live in a world where we're actually all different. The idea of equality is an illusion. Like, because everyone has their own personal idea of equality. Like, we could create quote unquote equality in the world, but the thing is, we'll still have misogynistic dudes that think women are less than. We'll still have people that think that if you've got blonde hair, you're dumb. Like, you know what I mean? So it's coming to your own truth, guys. And I just want to say, this is an invitation for you to just like come back to your own truth, come back to your own energy. And like, I had one of my best friends as well, and she was like posting a hell of a lot of like whoa stuff on Instagram. I had to like mute her Instagram story for a couple of days because I was just like feeling really like, it was just, Instagram was a lot. I culled like 1,000 people from it, right? And I eventually just kind of like slowly opened up to her, and she was like, I've been realizing this the past 2 days as well. And so it's like, take that little bit of a leap with your friends. It doesn't mean, if they're going to assume that you're racist, that's their assumption to make. You're allowed to say to them like, hey, have you by chance been like taking a step back and looking at it from any other angles? And if they're like, no, this is the fucking truth, and it's like, okay, those aren't the friends to talk to about it. But I hope that all of you guys can just find one friend or a family member, like a mom or dad that has unconditional love for you, that you guys can just have a conversation. Not an argument, a conversation.
Respectful.
Right? A conversation of not attacking, not projecting, just like bouncing ideas. That's all it is. It's simply bouncing things off each other so you can come to your own truth. That's all we're saying.
I love that. And that's just it, you guys. Like, again, Monica and I are both coaches. And although we're talking about all of this here, like, our as a coach, like your job is actually to hold safe space, to be neutral, be grounded, and to ask powerful questions. So if you hire us or if you do a session with us or something to unpack some of this, maybe you don't have a safe space to go, we are happy to be that safe space for you, whether you agree or not. I don't put my opinions or interject with like, here's what you need to think into my coaching sessions. It's simply space being held for you, questions being answered, trauma being healed, energy being moved. It has nothing to do with our personal opinions. So yes, we might be getting more opinionated on social media from here. We might share more of these podcasts and you might make your own assumptions of what that means. But even if in November we vote for someone different, I can still be a badass coach for you. And I love you. And I think the world of you. And I respect you in whatever way feels like truth in your body. It's just important to come out of our bubbles. You know, it's like women that tell me that they feel oppressed here in America. Yes, we need to like continue to work on equal pay. But I asked them, have you ever studied what it's like to be a woman in the Middle East? You know, you can't go to school. You can't think for yourself. You have to cover yourself. Like you know, there's so many rules. And here we can speak, we can work, we can earn money, we can lead, we can, honest to God, do pretty much whatever we want. Will there always be misogynistic assholes? Will there always be oppressors? There will be, you know, and that's their own shit. But it's really important to come out of your bubble of like where you grew up, especially if you were really secluded and very like sheltered. I know that I was. I had a lot to learn. So just start to question even your parents, even your friends, even your coach. I don't care. Anyone.
All we're saying, guys, is just come to your own truth and don't be a sheep. Like be your own fucking leader and make your own choices from an empowered place where you've done your own research and your choice, whether it's for whoever the fuck you're choosing, whatever you believe in, doesn't matter. If it feels true to you, then I'm celebrating you. I'm celebrating you. What we're asking is to not do something for the sake of fitting in.
I have one more thing to say. Did you ever?
We all need to breathe at the end.
I know, right? Like a big breath. Did you ever listen to Hillary Duff?
Yes, babe.
Okay.
What was Olivia?
Do you remember that song?
Maybe? That last.
Yeah, Lizzie Fire.
Oh my God, that last song, like that was my jam.
Your favorite. Did you remember the song Wake Up, Wake Up, Wake Up on a Saturday night?
That one? Wait, play it. Can you play it?
Hollywood fine.
Oh yeah, okay, I know that one. Let's play it. Oh yeah, can you go to the chorus? And we'll have a duo.
Right, here we go.
You guys just in the video, we're like full dancing.
Oh my God. So that's what I want to say. Wake up, wake up.
Wide Awake by Katy Perry. I'm wide awake. It's like my favorite fucking song. Like, I'll never forget, actually, one morning on schoolies, we're going to end on a really high note. This is great. One morning on schoolies, I woke up and I was so fucking hungover. Oh my God. So schoolies is like spring break, right? Fucking so hungover. I don't even know how I was alive. And my friend was playing Wide Awake. And I literally remember just being like, I'm wide awake. And just like jumped out of my bed and started like full break dancing. And I was like singing in my bed. And I had this like dude that I was sleeping with in my bed, like dancing in my bed, being like, I'm wide awake. And he was like, hey, Monica, this is like way too much too early. I'm like, I am so much. Anyway.
It's so dramatic and I love it. Like that song.
So fucking dramatic. It's like what I said to my friend today when I figured out he was a Capricorn. And like I've known him for years, never fucking knew this. And I found the message I sent. I was like, hey, random question. Do you find my like my OTT-ness like too much? And he was like, it definitely is a lot, but I also love you for it. So I was like, okay, yeah, it is a lot, isn't it?
Oh my God, I love it.
It's like
I love it so much.
Sometimes, so it's fine. Okay, let's all take a big breath in through our bellies and out. And just taking a second. Breathe in and out. And one more. In and out. All right, coming back to your own energy. That was fiery and amazing. I am Monica Yates.
And I am Olivia Celine. Thank you for joining us
Thank
what did we call it? The
Oh, fuck.
what did we call that earlier? Oh, fuck. I can't believe this was 2 hours and a half. So that's probably why
I'm exhausted.
Same. I'm like exhausted but lit up and like giggly at the same time.
Yeah,
So
what was
thanks
it
for
called?
joining us for
Dick Convos. It was like Dick Diaries. Oh my god, Dick Diaries.
I was thinking like Dick Chronicles. Yeah. The Dick. Maybe it was like I don't know. Thanks for being here at the Dick Show. Yeah, we love you.
We love you. Thank you guys so much. And we look forward to your amazing feedback. Feel free to share it with friends. Please do share it with friends. And we will not be receiving any shitty DMs. If you're going to abuse us, it just gets blocked anyway. So like no fucking point wasting your energy.
Don't waste your energy.
Like legit don't. Cause like we just send it to each other and lol about it. So like don't waste your energy.
Yeah. Go share that with your friends.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Was that fire or was that fucking fire? So a quick reminder, go check out Baba because it is open and you can get it with Queen Alchemy if you want that plus extra one-on-ones. I'll leave everything below and have an amazing day. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you got lots of chicken nuggets out of today's episode. I would be really, really grateful if you'd be able to leave me a review and a star rating that you think is appropriate, hopefully 5. And if you could share this podcast so that I can help more women live a life of flow and ease, I would be so fucking grateful. Make sure you tag me in it on Instagram so I can personally thank you, because I know so many of my clients have found me literally because their friends have posted about my podcast on their Instagram story. And I just want to help as many women as possible. So by you sharing it, I would be so fucking grateful, and I'm sure your friends would be too. If you do want to welcome me, please do check out my website for all those details. And of course, you can DM me on Instagram with any other questions. If you have any podcast things you want me to talk about, any ideas, any feedback, I am always open to it. And I always love hearing what you guys have to say. So please don't hesitate about that either. I will catch you on the flip side. Have an amazing day or night wherever you are.